Good afternoon, everybody. We have 3 o'clock on my computer in Bundaberg, so we may as well get started. Welcome to today's session, or the last session of the day for the Educational Technologies Room. My name is Sherre and I'll be your facilitator for this afternoon. So our first presenter this afternoon is Darryl, and he's going to be talking to us about H5P, I believe.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you, Darryl.
Well, thanks very much. It's a great opportunity to have a bit of a chat today. When I saw this on, I thought it was a good opportunity, it's talking about education technology, to talk about H5P. I actually a lecturer of paramedic science with HMAS, but this last year I've been in a seconded role with ITAD, because I have done a fair bit of IT in the past, involved with Moodle and things like that. And H5P, to me, is something that can give Moodle a nice facelift in your courses and your units. So I thought it was worth talking about. Get the right, yeah, here we go. And there's plenty of research that says about how successful Moodle is and how it can really help people in distance. And not as much research yet on H5P, but in the scheme of things, it's relatively new. But the research that is there indicates that it certainly is something that can be an innovative tool to enhance learning through Moodle. H5P is something that the uni is in the process of introducing now. One of my roles in ITAD has been to do that. It is now live in both VET and the higher ed Moodle. We've got pilot groups in each using it at the moment. The plan is that it'll be turned on for everyone for term 1 next year, and I think there'll be some people getting turned on in term 3 this year as well. So what is H5P? Basically, it's free open source content collaboration framework based on JavaScript. And all it is an abbreviation for HTML5 package. The idea is it's to make it easy for everyone to create, share and reuse interactive HTML5 content. The beauty of HTML5 over its predecessors, HTML4 and so on, is the fact that there's not as many overheads, as many things to install, special players. HTML4, most things were done through Flash and Adobe Flash players, Macromedia players, things like that. The beauty of HTML5 is that for students' end, they don't really need any particular special software. It'll run on any major web browser that you have. And what it does offer is over 40 different types of interactions that we can make with H5P. What it offers academics is a wide range of multimedia elements without the need of any third-party players. Improved interactions and more engaging content. And I'm going to spend about 5 minutes of this showing you some of those interactions. It can create adaptive content that'll work and resize to any device a student use, from a smartphone to a desktop computer. So it basically is responsive design, works on all modern browsers. It supports things like offline learning. So students can actually download the Moodle content and use it on devices when they're maybe on a train or something like where they haven't got connectivity. Supports many things like offline browsing, gamification, geolocation, and it promotes accessibility through the structure of the web code. It supports things like screen readers and much more accessible than things in the past like Flash and that. The range of interactions is quite amazing. I'm going to show you 1 or 2 of them, but all sorts of things. There's over 40 at the moment, and lots more to come. They just keep developing stuff with it. So I wanted to show you, one, how it works, where the resources are, and then towards the end, at the end of the day, if there's any questions on it, really happy to talk through those. So what I will do now, move screens around here. Bear with me 1 second. Share the right screen now. Hopefully you've got my main screen with H5P on it. Have we got that? Yeah, okay, cool. H5P itself, if you want to learn a bit about it, h5p.org is the main website for H5P, and it's got lots of information, but the one that's really quite interesting to have a bit of a look at is the examples and downloads. This here shows you the range of different content types that you can embed with H5P into a Moodle course. And I've picked a few of them that I thought I'd show of what we can do. And with each of these also, if you click on one, you can go and actually look at examples other people have made. One other thing that I forgot to mention is the ability to share content. Any of the content you see here, you can download and reuse and use as your own templates. In our own Moodle and higher ed at Moodle at the moment, I've built a tutorial page for people that can have a look through, and it gives examples of how to build things. And again, this content is all downloadable and reusable. So I thought I'd show some of what we can do with it. One of the things that really appealed to me is, as some people know, I love working in the virtual reality type area. And natively, we can actually set up things like this inside Moodle. Simply upload the 360 image, and it gives us the ability to put all our hot spotting, things like that. Taking it a bit further, this is one where we can actually move through scenes. This is one that I worked on with aged care and nursing. We didn't do it as H5P, but I just recently converted it. So we can actually, my net's a bit slow here today, I'm sorry, that should open up in a minute. But we can embed videos, things like that in it, and work through the actual presentation. Things like timeline is another really interesting activity. I built one just to, again, on virtual reality. You can see, very simple, you basically put dates, put some text in, link some resources to it. And seeing what students have done with that, not teach students, lecturers has been really great. From our trial, one of the lecturers here has built a timeline for his course for students so they can actually work through and understand what times they have to do things on their courses. Some of the other types of interactions, these little flashcards are really simple ones to set up and are great, just little learning prompts. And I'll show you how we set these up in a moment as well, but I think you get the idea of what it can do. Documentation tool, you can actually set up your own templates, and I think this could be great. Summer steps, English, those type of things as well. So you work through, you set this up for the student, and they can then create the document. These sort of image, don't get me to pronounce that word, I always do it wrong, but we can do slide over images like this. So this is one demonstrating flooding. One of the ones that I think has got some incredible potential for us is scenarios. And this one here is really simple, and I put together as something I've done once before. This is a fitness one talking about recognising the dangers of providing fitness, nutrition advice. So you go through, and I've done this just as an image, then you get the branching option. What do you do next? And you've got the option to say what happens with each of these. I've done a fairly simple one here. If you get the right one, you go forward. If you get the wrong one, you get, no, not quite yet, and proceed. And I've just made it loop round to back to here again. So if we go and get the right answer, we're ready to proceed. We could proceed to another scenario. I've just finished that off there. One thing you'll notice on the bottom of these is the reuse button. This is in our basic tutorials we're doing with staff. We're suggesting that we turn that off in Moodle units. But for example, in this tutorial, all we need to do is click on this and we can actually copy the content and download it. It downloads as one file. The file then can be imported back into Moodle. To actually use H5P in Moodle, it's really as simple as we turn the editing on, and let's go to an area we want to put a new interaction in. Like anything else in Moodle, add an activity or resource. We'll find the new interactive content here. When we click on that and add, the H5P will pop up here in a minute. There it is, sorry. We've got two options. Upload, we could upload that file, let's say I've downloaded from another site, or we can go through here and simple one maybe like the flashcards. We did that one, create the activity, give the activity a name, description, and then question, answer, do you want an image? And basically you're done. That's as simple as it is to set up the flashcards that you saw before. Even some of the real complex ones like the scenario, I'll go back to that now. While this is taking its time, I'll just go back here. And have a look at how the scenario is actually put together.
Excuse me, Darryl, 10 minutes.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. I just lost my scenario, don't mind me. There we go. So if I edit that resource, as it loads, with the branching scenario, I've used images, but it doesn't have to be images. You can put dilemmas up any which way you want, but it is a really useful tool and taking a lot of time to load on my internet today. Okay, gives you a bit of instructions on how to use it. But basically you can see here, I've actually gone through and we can configure this. The scenario, if I click on that, I put an image in and branching options. Are there any on that one? No, but when we get down to here, the branching options, so we set up what happens. And I just make it easy for myself. Scenario 1, no. Scenario 1, yes. And that's how easy it is to set those up. So you can see it's quite a fairly intuitive and fairly simple way to set up tutorials, to set up any sort of thing. That's just a brief overview, and I think I've got about 2 minutes left. But towards the end, I'll be around if anyone has any questions. But I thought this was a good time to introduce it to everyone and make people aware of it. We'll be offering as much support as we can. We have set the tutorial site up for that reason, so people can go and read about it. Each one of the tutorial links will jump to an area on the actual H5P site, which will tell you how to do that. And one thing I didn't, this is one of their examples, but this is course presentations, which is really well done too. Inside them, you can put quizzes and things like that. So yeah, very, very easy, very intuitive to do. So that's a bit of I guess, an overview of what H5P is and why I say I had to come up with a catchy title, and we can teach Moodle some new tricks by incorporating some new content, some new learning opportunities, things like timelines, these image type things, offer some really interesting opportunities to make Moodle a little more engaging for people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Darryl. It was very interesting, and I know there's a lot of interest out there around H5P at the moment. So this will, yes, we can have a happy wave to thank you, and a happy clap to thank you for that presentation.
And I'll be here till the end for any questions, so that's not a drama.
All right. Thanks, Darryl.
Thank you so much.
We'll keep moving on, and I believe Kate.
Yeah, so thank you, firstly, for the opportunity to talk about our research that is still very much ongoing. Yes, and also greetings from the West, where it's only 1:30 here. I also just thought I'd let you know too, I actually unfortunately have to step out after I speak, unfortunately, because I'm teaching at 2 o'clock. So I apologise that I'm not able to hang around afterwards. So our project, and as I said, it's very much an ongoing research project, and we're drafting a survey at the moment so we can gather some empirical data. But it's a group of 4 of us from the law school, Fiona Cate, Fiona McGaughey, Jani and Marco are colleagues of mine at the law school, and Fiona Main is a colleague from the Graduate School of Education. And this project arose from a community of practice that we have going here at UWA about the flipped classroom and just an interest in blended learning. Our university's been relatively slow to take up some of them. Well, again, I don't even think it's, perhaps you can consider it particularly unusual anymore, but it has been fairly slow to take up. So we've been researching flipped classrooms, and our interest in particular is on the concept of the sticky classroom. And there's been a bit of talk about the sticky campus and getting students to come back to the physical place. And we sort of were looking at that in the context of the classroom itself. So just to talk briefly, what we're looking at the concept of flipped classrooms is through the lens of self-determination theory. And you might be familiar with self-determination theory, but it's a psychological theory that investigates how humans best thrive and reach a state of what is known as eudaimonia or eudaimonia. And that's a term that was coined by Aristotle. And it's not so much about happiness per se, but it's about human thriving or flourishing or well-being. So that sort of greater good. And because it's about the greater good and not just about the self, it focuses on aims and activities that extend beyond the self. And the theory is that human beings are focused or oriented towards growth, and that they need three things in order to achieve that, which are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. And that to have those experiences are the three things that are necessary for a eudaimonic life. So autonomy, obviously, and I've just put a quote from Ryan and Decky are the original sort of developers of this particular theory. They talk about autonomy being a sense of choice or volition in the regulation of behaviour. Competence concerns the sense of efficacy one has with respect to both internal and external environments, and relatedness is essentially about feeling connected to and cared about by others. And so before I sort of talk about flipping and what our motivations were for flipping, I mean, they're probably fairly obvious and I guess fairly consistent across the board with people who have done this, is that we were noticing, like many others, I think exodus, well, I was going to say, exodus is an overstatement, but I'm not sure it is, an exodus of student numbers from classrooms. And we've actually also recently done here at the law school, excuse me, another very large study on attendance and its connection to wellbeing generally in terms of staff and student wellbeing. But we also undertook a very extensive empirical study to actually count numbers. We got to, and just to find out the reasons why students weren't attending. And that was done in the context of, really done in the context of sort of venue planning and trying to get a sense of what exactly was happening and the impact that lecture recording was having on numbers. So that was our sort of primary focus. But out of that sort of very significant quantity of data, we started to see just the connection between well-being and attendance. So thinking about those sort of three concepts, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, in terms of the traditional classroom, there's been quite a lot that has been written about the issue of relatedness and that sense of connecting with the selves of other people and well-being of students. And so there's been some quite strong links made between in-class and extracurricular engagement of students and relatedness, which supports that sort of thesis that in-class attendance does give at least one of those aspects that are needed towards eudaimonia.
We're at 10 minutes, Kate. Sorry.
Oh, is that 10 minutes already?
Yes.
Goodness, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, well, I shall move on. Anyway, the other thing I was going to say too, in the traditional classroom, autonomy is something that students are very keen on having autonomy, but of course, if you allow them, well, if they have a true autonomy, then they can actually choose to stay away from the classroom. And competence, again, there's those concerns that the traditional classroom, where the traditional lecture is sort of an information dump, that students aren't becoming as competent as they could be, at learning as much as they could be. So it was through, in that context, and as I said, through the data that we sort of inadvertently collected through this large survey on, ostensibly on lecture recording, we teamed up with Fiona Main from the Graduate School of Education and looked at where we had actually flipped units. So torts is my unit. That's a first-year Juris Doctor. We only have a post-law a graduate law degree here at UWA, a master's unit, and then a Masters of Teaching unit from the Graduate School of Education. So all three units have been flipped, essentially, which is putting the lecture content or the information transmission online and then using in-class for more active learning. And I will shortcut because essentially, and just talk about what we have found so far, is that all three of us used slightly different models, but essentially it was the same in the sense that we had, as I said, information transmission, online material and seminars and more active workshops, with the students having had an opportunity to look at the material beforehand. And we found that in terms of getting a sticky classroom, so a classroom that students would want to attend and that therefore could work towards reaching the three things that Aristotle and Ryan and Decky believed were Ryan and Decky were crucial to that state of eudaimonia, is that with the lectures online, that it did give students a sense of autonomy, that they could learn as and when it suited them. It was flexible, they felt in control, and they were able to self-direct their learning more. Certainly in terms of competence, that although it is anecdotal, and we have, although as I said, we're surveying at present, so we haven't collected the data on this yet, but certainly the anecdotal experience was that comparing the students who had been through the flipped model with the students previous or prior to that, that their raw scores were certainly higher and that they seemed to grasp the concepts a lot better. And we felt that that they had more opportunity to engage in actual learning. They came to class with questions rather than using class time or that sort of precious face-to-face time just for information transfer. And again, the issue with relatedness was that, again, if you're reducing class time, there's an argument that actually you're going to be reducing relatedness or that opportunity for relatedness. Although what we all found, again, in three fairly different units with fairly different student groups, is that in actual fact the relatedness was increased, and that the active nature of the classroom, so when the students were together in class, having class time together, that they were able to get to know each other better and build those relationships that were so crucial. We also found too, and it was the education law unit that Fiona Main ran that had perhaps less class-to-class time than we had in both our units in the law school, but that any lack of relatedness that may be a result of the flipped classroom can be compensated for by the use of online discussion boards and social media, and particularly in the Graduate School of Education unit, social media was used to great effect, and a lot of students reported making very good professional connections and networks. So I'll put that up so you've got something to look at rather than just a blank screen. Yeah, so overall, we found that in terms of promoting, again, those three aspects that led towards greater contentment and happiness and that sense of connecting to something bigger than themselves, certainly the initial evidence that we've collected seems to suggest that flipped classrooms are a much better way to go, certainly for learning, that learning outcomes seem to be improved, and that student wellbeing was also benefited from these types of models.
Okay, thank you, Kate. And I do apologise, I got my timing slightly wrong. You got another couple of minutes, but before you go, we have a question for you in the chat.
Yes.
Were autonomy, competence and relatedness the terms or concepts that Aristotle used, or are they what have been developed more recently?
No, sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry, I no. So eudaimonia is the concept that Aristotle had, is Aristotle's. But no, in terms of how we've come to those three components of what makes up eudaimonia, no, that's Ryan and Decky who have, or Decci, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, are the ones that have been, have produced that sort of theory. But it is based on concepts developed by Aristotle.
Okay, thank you. Were there any other quick questions before we let Kate take off to class? No? All right. Thank you very much. And Kate is leaving us as she goes. So we'll move on to the next presenter, Jenny. Okay.
Hi, Sherre. Hi, everyone. Yeah, a warm welcome to everybody on behalf of myself and also my colleague Helen Holden. Helen is going to share the presentation with me. Hi, Helen.
Hi, everyone. And hopefully you can see the PowerPoint.
Slides, all good. And Helen's driving the slides there, so thanks for that, Helen. So we both work in the STEPS part of CQUniversity, so our enabling or pathways or bridging program. Helen's on the Gladstone campus and I'm in Noosa. And we wanted to just talk to you a little bit about hygge and how that can relate to online learning and share a few of the strategies that we use in STEPS to try and get that sense of belonging. So Helen and I both share the coordination of the core unit within STEPS, which is called Preparation Skills for University, or we refer to it as PSU or Prep Skills. So hygge, what is it? Well, it's a wonderful Danish word, and my apologies to any Danish people or Danish-speaking people out there because we probably haven't got it quite right. But all things Scandi are pretty trendy these days, and this is just a lovely concept. So according to the Visit Denmark website, it means creating a warm atmosphere and enjoying the good things in life with good people. The warm glow of candlelight is hygge. So it denotes an atmosphere of warmth, of coziness, of belonging, the good things in life. So what has that got to do with online learning? Well, we think it relates pretty nicely to the concept of holistic learning, which we're all familiar with. The idea that we are not just attending to the cognitive needs of our students, but also their personal and emotional needs. And it was Carl Rogers who was one of the first, if not the first, hard to say that for sure, who termed the expression a whole of student or a whole person approach. And he was a humanist psychologist back in the 1950s, and he talked about the need for empathy, authenticity and respect as being the keystones of an effective learning environment. At the HERSA conference earlier this year that I attended, one of the keynotes talked about how we need in higher education to be not just welcoming our students at the start of the term or at the start of our unit or their program, but we should be mindful that we need to be helping students feel comfortable, feel safe in their university environment. It is a scary place for some people. There is that sense of an imposter, and that's especially the case for STEP students. As you can imagine, many of them do feel quite vulnerable. So we have this responsibility, he would say, to provide a relentless welcome, that we should be always mindful of that. And that's probably an easier thing to do in the face-to-face environment, not so easy with online learning, and online learning does get a bit of a bad rap sometimes and is seen as anonymous and isolating for students. But we think that there's plenty that we can do that can help bring that sense of belonging and warmth to the online environment. So Helen, thank you. So we just want to share some of the strategies that we use in the unit that Helen and I share coordination of. So one of the things we do in this unit is what we do in STEPS across the board, and that is where we have larger groups of students, of online students. We divide the cohort into smaller groups of about 50 or 60 or sometimes more, and we assign that group their own support lecturer. So you can see then that the unit coordinator's role is quite different because very much a team effort. So we encourage the support lecturer to make contact with their group of students and establish a relationship with them. So that means not just being reactive, but actually reaching out to them. And that starts with their introductory email at the beginning of term. We encourage them to include a YouTube clip of themselves or a talking head video. There's nothing more welcoming than a friendly smiling face. Here's an example of one of the videos that our support lecturer Bree has used for her introductory email. So it also means chasing up with students if they're inactive, and we use our Easy Connect analytics to monitor all that very closely. So if students haven't submitted assessment, that would be another time when we would reach out to students, and we would even phone them as well as email if required. But at some point we realised we were spending a lot of time chasing up students, the inactive students, and that sometimes the low maintenance students can get a little bit forgotten. So we do try and make a concerted effort to also offer those students encouragement and support throughout. And congratulations when they have done something, completed something successfully. Here's an example of the kind of email that our support team would send out to their groups. And to make things easier for our lecturers, we've compiled some communication templates just to make it easier, and also to provide a model of the kind of tone, that friendly, warm tone that we're hoping that we can use consistently throughout the unit. And as unit coordinators, Helen and I have a responsibility to our staff as well as to our students, and we do try and provide them with the support they need as well, and lots of guidance and resources, etc. And because we are a team, it's important that we know what everybody's doing and that we're all on the same page. At the start of each term, Helen and I create a support document and we detail what the tasks are week by week. And then we use that as a starting point for our weekly emails, our updates. And you can see that it is very much a team effort. So the support lecturers also help us monitor the online discussion forums and to monitor the Zoom workshops that we have each week. So it is very much a team effort, and we do try and make sure that we offer our lecturers lots of support to help them feel valued as well, and that's also part of that hygge that we are trying to establish. Helen, unless I've left anything out, I'll hand over to you.
Okay, thank you, Jen, and hopefully everyone can hear me. So our look and feel for this hygge concept actually needs to extend to the Prep Skills Moodle site, because it's a very important part of creating that supportive, cosy, nurturing space. So we wanted to tap into the rich data that we had in the form of student testimonials. We have a lot gained from forum posts and unit evaluations, and we knew that student testimonials were a powerful endorsement, particularly with incoming students. This is discussed by Inga Askahav, and funnily enough, he's Dane too, and his work shows that student testimonials create an atmosphere of authenticity and trust. They personalise the text, and our text in this case was our Moodle site, and it was here that we set about providing an authentic voice for weekly advice and inspiration. And we did this in the form of banners for the front page of Moodle. And I'm going to show you some of those banners in a moment. But I just want to say that we also wanted to embrace some really good design principles. So good design is often associated with hygge. And so we actually cajoled a family member who was a graphic artist into supplying the artistic input for these banners. So you're looking at one of the banners now. Each banner features a quote predominantly, but also the face to go with that quote or that voice. And we also include some personal information about when the person speaking completed prep skills, what they are doing now, and where they are studying. And so in this case, you're looking at Justin, and he's now completing a Bachelor of Business, and he's located at the Cairns campus. So we show a variety of faces, culturally diverse faces, male, female, younger, older, and so on. The quotes give messages of support and encouragement. Sometimes these banners have a quote that relates directly to the content for the week, as in this one from Ben, who wanted to talk about the benefit of completing an oral presentation, something that he was very fearful of initially. It's a component of preparation skills for university, but he was very glad that he actually went ahead and did that, and he wanted to send a message to new incoming students. So Michelle's words here show the wide-ranging benefits, perhaps even life-changing benefits, that whole person from completing prep skills. And I'll let you read Michelle's quote there. So we extend beyond just the front page of Moodle, and within our each of our topic blocks on Moodle, we've got deliberately chosen design features. And what you're looking at now is, you know, the talking heads that introduce the videos and the lectures each week. Again, we find that coziness comes across from looking at a familiar face, in this case Jenny or Helen, or at times it's one of the other lecturing staff. Our draw card for the discussion forums, because we really wanted to tap into creating that hygge feeling within the discussion forums. So
11 minutes, Helen.
Thank you. So we have we designed this graphic. So we ask the question, tell us what you think. It's the head of the students. And we often find that the discussion forums become, you know, a real conversation with the whole group. So what does all this mean? You know, is it just Jenny? Is it just me who see this hygge look, feel and impact? Well, I think our colleagues' comments, actually, when they review our work, they suggest that they feel it too. One person said, your guide is written in a warm, friendly and engaging style whilst retaining credibility and authority. And words that appear in a lot of the forum posts and unit feedback also echo that hygge concept. So this one from Sam. As a mature age student, coming back to your study can be intimidating. Prep skills really help me feel more confident in the university environment. And another one, sometimes it can be daunting going into distance study, but I never felt like I was alone. One's from Karen and Katie and Rebecca. They say things like, it means so much that people are willing to help. I'm now feeling much more confident and empowered with some great tools for positive learning. I have found this unit to be so inspiring, provocative, life-affirming even. And I'm so glad I'm part of such a supportive, inspirational community. And I'm eager to embark upon this journey together. And finally, the quote from a student evaluation that got us started on our hygge journey, this one here. The prep skill unit is very polished, yet cosy. So all this talk of hygge could just really be motherhood statements, but so it's important to note that our impact with student satisfaction and the overall experience of the unit is very high. Prep Skills has scored consistently in the high 4s, 4.6, 7 to a high of 4.8 over many years, many terms. So with a typical enrolment of each term of up to 800 students in term 1 and term 2, 50% of whom are online students. And I'd just like to end by saying what is really amazing about this is that the student satisfaction rates for our online students match those for our on-campus students. But even in some terms, the satisfaction rates for online students are actually higher than our on-campus students. So for our online students, we believe that providing an environment with a little touch of hygge makes the world of difference. And I'll stop sharing now.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Helen, for that lovely presentation. And we have one more for this afternoon. So we have Samer, if he is ready, and then after his, we'll just open it up for discussion around all of the presentations and if people have any questions.
Thank you so much, Sherry. Thank you for the presenters. I'm enjoying this session. You know, you can't imagine. I'm very happy with this session, actually. I hope that you will continue with this enjoyment anyway. So I'm going to talk about Mentimeter. Mentimeter is a tool that we use at CQUniversity in the last 1 year, you can say. It is piloted for students who are coming from international backgrounds. And I will talk about this experience. I'll talk about the tool and how we use it and what was the impact of that tool on students' learning. So if you can see at the right bottom corner, you will see a thumb up button. And in order for you to participate in this presentation, could you please follow the instructions that you will see on the screen here? And you can open a browser tab, or you can use your phone and just go to menti.com and use the code 169442. And I aim with that you will actually connect to my slides. I have some questions and I will show you the experience of Mentimeter while we are running this presentation. So I'm explaining it as well as giving you the feel by actually practicing it yourself and see how good it is for your teaching practices. So once you're done with that, can you just, if you are connected, can you just show me that with the thumb up button? If you just click on that, and then we can kick off from there. Good, excellent. This is the code again, menti.com, 169442. Couple more. It would be great that you know we have like 24 in the room, so it's good to get more. Yeah, a couple more, please. Okay, excellent. Okay, so just to show you the beauty of this particular tool, and then we move from there. I got a question here, just to demonstrate this. So, which emoji describes your mood at the moment? Your mood at the moment. So, you can go back to the phone and just pick one answer. You can even try the questions. You get some questions here that you can anonymously pose at any point of time. So even if you are a student, you can do that at any point of time in the classroom. So I expect so many of us will be low on energy at this point of time. We want to leave, actually. So that's great. Okay, the next question. So what's your previous experience before today with a student response system such as Mentimeter, this tool that I'm using? So I use it as a presenter. I use it as an audience. I just heard of it. What the hell is this? So which one? Well, excellent that some of you have actually used it, which is great. Okay. Now, so what is Mentimeter? Actually, I have two questions. What is Mentimeter and why Mentimeter? So I used Mentimeter last year on a pilot study at CQUniversity after I have seen our international students who come from different backgrounds are not comfortable to share their opinions and discuss discussions when we open it for Q&A session, for example, at the classroom. They have this feeling of peer pressure and feeling that they will be intimidated. If there is questions, they are not confident enough to pose questions because they feel that it could be a ridiculous question. So that will attract, students picking up on them. So I tried to look at certain scenarios where I actually engage those students in a way or another, include them in the discussions, and I tried to change the curriculum in a way that it will foster this particular intention. So Mentimeter was one tool that I have seen, and that I was very happy of finding this tool while I was surfing the internet. So this tool is actually a tool that will provide you with the experience of interactive presentations. So you can you can prepare your presentation slides via PowerPoint, then you can import them via this platform at one click. It is very user-friendly tool where you can actually build your own interactive tools within the static Power presentation slides. And just to see the platform itself, so if I just show you now, so this is the way how it works here. You can create anything that you like. You can create multiple questions. You can create content. You can come up with a quiz competition. You could open in the questions here. You could scale questions like Likert scale. The image choice that I have just showed you one at the beginning. So you have a variety of options. And you start by importing something from YouTube, from PowerPoint, sorry. And then you can start developing your own interactive content. And then you can embed that into your Moodle site, or you can share that with your team. You can easily have linkage with other team members who are actually connected to your subscription. So there is team subscription, there is individual subscription. So it suits different needs. So we have actually purchased the full license. And if you go to mentimeter.com, you will know exactly about the prices. So I think there is no time to cover that. And one more thing that I have seen with Mentimeter is that it helps a lot when it comes to the situation that you deal with international students, because they are not used to our system in Australia. Our education system is mainly about being problem solver, being interactive, and communicate orally, and have this self-confidence in terms of public speaking. And I got the situation where I got at least 240 students who are predominantly from international backgrounds, and I got that over 4 campuses, and it was a challenge. How can we actually stimulate these students to come to the class in the first place? And I have seen that the students' attendance rate has increased from 20% in the first 2 weeks to 90% after they came to know about Mentimeter and the way how we actually use it in the class. And I use that in a unit called Research and Project Management. It is Master of Project Management unit for postgraduate students. And I use that over 1 term. And we use that in the last term, but it was not quite efficient because casual lecturers didn't use it well. And what we adopted something called semi-flipped class model. So it is not completely flipped class model where we ask students to come fully prepared. We ask them to read the slides beforehand, the static slides, and then come to class because they will be asked questions. And then from those questions, we will start to create some discussions and debate. So we usually pose certain questions and we allow them to make mistakes. And then we ask them to have the chance to talk to each other during the class timing. And then we give them the same question again and see whether or not there is a difference in their answers. And that actually promotes a lot of interaction and engagement within the peers. And you can, as a lecturer, you can examine students throughout the entire term by giving them formative assessment questions, just to know whether or not they are actually on the same page as you, and make sure that you can adjust your teaching style according to their needs. And this actually helps you to make it student-centered environment, full of joy and the stimulation, and you will feel that students feel more belonged and more stimulated to come to your class when you use this tool. And the most beautiful aspect of this particular tool is that it helps the student to ask any question they like to ask without being exposed to anyone. So it is completely anonymous. They can participate in questions. They can share their opinion about the lecture, about their unit, about the assessment tasks. They can ask so many questions. They can participate in all activities that you can devise in this platform. And for me, at the end of each lecture, I have like 15 minutes or 20 minutes as a quiz competition, and I got chocolate at the end of the day for those who are actually being ranked the first. And then I ask students, those who are actually very active and participating, that they will be rewarded at the end of the term. So it depends on what you are trying to achieve. But the quiz competition was quite handy, and we have one question just to show you the beauty of this software. And even if you have online students and you don't have face-to-face discussions, you can embed the entire interactive presentation into Moodle site, and students can do that on their pace, and they can answer questions and they know the answers later on at their pace. So this is, for example, the way how I have actually embedded that in Moodle site, and the students can go right and left with the questions and then answer them, and they know the correct answer. So it is more interactive than all static presentation that we do. And you don't need to do anything other than you copy and paste the code from Mentimeter. So this is the way how I have actually used that in the classroom. And the effect on students' learning was actually impressive. I couldn't imagine that students will be that pleasant and fascinated with this tool. I asked students, for example, at CQUniversity, we have something called Have Your Say survey, where we ask them a question, what was the best aspect of this unit? And in that survey, Mentimeter appeared 44 times out of 95 answers I got from them as the best aspect of that unit. And I got plenty of comments from students about the beauty of this particular tool in shaping their understanding and making them more stimulated and engaged in the class. They are fully entertained. There is full of joy and fun during the class timing. And I felt that students were really happy to come to class and participate. And even the flipped class model itself, that was not successful at the beginning of the term, the students were more encouraged to come prepared because of the quiz at the end, and they wanted to show that they really learn and there is a reward at the end of the lecture as well as at the end of the term for class participation. And one comment that I really liked is the last one here. Interactive class sessions encourage me to keep my work original. And most of our students are really vulnerable to contract cheating, and especially if they come from international backgrounds, they are not familiar with our system here. And the mere fact that Mentimeter has helped students to come and be genuine in their understanding and learning has actually contributed a lot in terms of their journey and learning experience. And we wrote some papers about this experience as well. So just to show you how you can use the entire software. So if you go back to your screen and pick one avatar, you can use any nickname that you like, so you will not be identified. And then we got one question. So how the quiz works. Earlier, Mentimeter has addressed the requirement that must be fast.
12 minutes, Samer.
Yes, I'm almost done. So it must be quick and must be fast. It must be a correct answer. So the fastest correct answer is the way how we rank the winners. So we got 15 competitors, so we will run the quiz. Only one question. So this is the question. In which unit was Mentimeter piloted? In my presentation, I mentioned a unit. So is it project management research, project management in research, or research in project management? That's good. That's good. Oh, excellent. So now you can see who's the winner here by looking at the leaderboard. And the leaderboard will show you, the points, and you may get 5 questions, 10 questions, depending on what you want to achieve as well. So we have Magical Reno is the winner. So sometimes I ask students who have actually won that, because that will give them more confidence and they can get rewards as well. And you will know who's the best achiever in your unit as well. So
can I get chocolate if I was Magical Rhino?
Yes, you can, but in a virtual environment, you can only get the picture. Okay, so if you go back to your phone and share me with your opinion, what do you think about Mentimeter? Does it really enhance teaching style? Does it foster inclusive teaching? Does it really bring innovation and entertainment? And whether or not you would consider it in your classroom. So I would really love to know your opinions about that. If you go and have like 1 minute doing that survey. That's good. We get, that's excellent. So I think it's quite handy. It's like a magic road for anyone to use and improve the teaching style. If you feel that students are not engaged enough, you just use it. And it doesn't take much to learn. I use it with my casual staff. It took them like half an hour to go through my my video in Moodle to how to use it for their students. And it was quite handy, but you need commitment from staff, especially if you deal with them in different campuses. You don't actually know whether they're using it in their classroom. They may go back to their static environment. Thank you so much for your attention. And if you have any question, you can even address it here just to see whether or not, you know, you will like it and use it in your classroom. You can use it here rather than the chat box if you like. Thank you so much. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Samer. Can we please give a round of applause to all our presenters for this afternoon, please? And I'd like to open up, if you would like to stop sharing, Samer, that would be great. I'll open up the floor for questions for those, if anybody's got questions for Jenny or Helen or Darryl or Samer.
Well, I've got a question for Darryl. Darryl, you use all those great images, but I'm also aware now that people are thinking about copyright, etc. Where do you get your great images from?
They came from Shutterstock, and we've got an account with Shutterstock. I had a meeting with the library this morning. We're working out how we're going to make them available to everyone and make sure the right licensing. So, yeah, 100% you need the good images to make some, you know, nice resources. And, yeah, got a fair few. And Shutterstock isn't bad. You get 750 images, about 24 cents each, which is pretty good.
Mm. I'm also aware there are some royalty-free image sites out there. If you're looking around for Creative Commons related images, they're free just as long as you acknowledge who created them and where they come from.
Yeah.
So you just do that attribution and you're usually fine. Helen's question was, how do we get access to H5P Moodle?
At the moment, it's in being run as a trial, but I believe it gets turned on. It might even be next term, but it's close and everyone will have access to it then. It has been installed in both higher ed and vet Moodles now, gone through its testing and all come up nice, so it's very close.
Yep, thank you, Darryl.
It'll be just one more thing you can add from insert a resource, basically. Yeah.
I think if you really wanted to go have a sticky beak and a play, head off to the H5P website. It's a free. You can do a free trial type thing, Darryl, can't you? So
yeah.
You can start to play there while you wait for the university to catch up with you. So there are options out there.
Yeah.
Paul Oliveri has said one of the sites in the chat, and you'll see this if you've got it open, Usplash is one of those royalty-free sites for images.
Cool.
If there are no questions then, I'll hang around for a little bit, but as with anything, we'll close it for this afternoon if there are no more questions.
Oh, sorry, Sherre, could I just ask about Mentimeter?
Yes, you can.
That's not supplied by CQU, so do we have to like subscribe ourselves, or how does that work?
I think you need to first to go with the head of course approval, and then it goes to learning and teaching, or there is a department, I think educational technology, where education developer, where they can actually purchase that for you. But you need to make the case with the head of course first.
Okay.
And they can purchase you the license if you want 1 license or 5 or 10, depending on the actual needs, and it will cost you around 2,000 to 3,000 for 5 years if you want like 10 persons to be licensed.
Okay, it looks like something we might want to get a site license for eventually.
Yeah, if you do it on your own, it will cost you only $100 maybe.
Oh, okay,
annual subscription.
Yeah, all right, that's a little more feasible. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
There's also Kahoot. Helen, that's what it's called, isn't it? A similar language. I thought Kahoot was free, but anyway.
Yeah, but Kahoot doesn't give you this beauty of embedding the presentations and all these features.
Okay.
Yeah, I also just want to comment on Jen and Helen's presentation that what I really like about the hygge concept here is that sometimes people talk about providing a holistic experience and making students feel really welcome, but it doesn't go any further than the marketing and the imagery and even the language. Like a warm tone is great, but you actually need the support behind it. And what you guys seem to be talking about is actually being there, actually providing that support, because you're dividing your students up into small groups and one person is actually making contact with them and being in contact with people even when they're not struggling or not in trouble. Like, that's really putting your money where your mouth is. Sometimes I feel like, you know, we're focused on slogans and appearances but not actually doing it, but you guys are actually doing it, as well as the appearance. Those banners looked amazing, especially with the student testimonials. Fantastic.
Oh, thanks, Anne-Marie. And I hope that I explained that it's not just our unit where this happens. So we're just very lucky that in STEPS we have people who value that support, because it comes down to dollars and cents and budgets. It's extra people on your support team. And yeah, we think it does work really well, because there's a limit to how proactive you can be with supporting online students. If you're a unit coordinator and you're in charge of hundreds of students, there's just a limit to how much time you have. So it is a really great model. And, you know, we're talking about refreshing our approach. Maybe that's something that the university could be considering, you know, more broadly.
Yeah, so it's not just a personal intention of a teacher. It is actually, it's got to be bigger than that. It's got to be built into the system, and as you say, with actual money, with actual support and people on the ground.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks, Anne-Marie.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming.